Hey guys, hey folks, how you doing? Welcome back to the AnKorage where everything is awesome, and this is a special edition of Tux Quest. All right, welcome on back. It's good to see everybody. Well, I'm seeing a camera. That's what I'm looking at right now. But you're looking at me, so there you go. So today is the day. It's been released. What has been released? Well, it's been LMDE 6. So isn't that great? It's fantastic, I think. So, I had my my video regarding the beta and such, but now the actual release of it has taken place. So, and as usual, the team is proud to announce the release of LMDE 6 FE. LMDE standing for Linux Mint Debian Edition. So, of course, I feel this release or this version of Linux Mint is better than the Ubuntu version, or Ubuntu for the folks that like to try to do an impression of the Southern African accent. That's very nice. But I say Ubuntu because that is how I was introduced to it, how I've seen it. Way back when that was like the big thing back in the day. Of course, I don't believe it is today. However, so we have the Debian Edition project, which is the goal is to ensure Linux Mint would be able to continue to deliver the same user experience, and how much work would be involved if Ubuntu was ever to disappear. That's always what it says, every single time. I think what Clem does, he just copies and pastes this message, because I've seen this message before with LMDE 5, LMDE 4, and of course with the Ubuntu releases and of sort. I think it just changes a couple of words and a couple of links and the pictures, and there you go. But excuse me, that is it's no matter. It's the announcement, so it's great. So it's got the release notes for LMDE 6 right here. It's a link, and if I was to right click on that and click to open link in a new Mint tab, because I use separate quote-unquote containers as it's used, but it just separates out the tabs so they can't talk to each other. So, and then you've got the release notes, LMDE installer, sudo live installer expert mode. That's if you want expert mode. Locked root account, VirtualBox guest editions, DVD playback, other issues, things of that sort. So if we actually came back to this one here, you get your system requirements, your upgrade instructions. Okay, so the upgrade instructions for LMDE 5 users is available at this blog entry right here, which, well, what do you know? If you scroll down, there it is. So anyhow, let's scroll back up. And if you're using the LMDE 6 beta, you don't need to upgrade, really. Because apparently the beta is the production release with a couple of things that do need to be done. You have to run the following commands. Install ZSTD, and that is a compression utility. That's behind the scenes. Don't worry about it. And it also installs YTDLP, which is a YouTube downloader, from what I've noticed, and then it also, you need to remove the GNOME font viewer, okay, and it will also remove YouTube DL. So, if you want to know the reasons why YouTube DL is being released, you could look up YouTube DL and see the drama involved in that. Or you could look up YTDLP, which is a fork of YouTube DL, which basically means, it began as YouTube DL, and someone took YouTube DL and made another, went off on a tangent and made another application that is essentially the same thing at its core or historically. But there you go. And then you get your download links. So you got all this area. You got the torrent. Now they put the torrent first because that's what they want everybody to be using. Use a torrent. That way you're not actually getting it directly from them or through one of their mirrors, which is everybody else. The world, Canada, and the US is just loaded. And then, Belarus, Belgium, Bulgaria, Czech Republic. The list just goes on. It just goes and goes and goes and stuff like that. So, Bay has been released. That's really good. Now, for the folks on LMDE 5, myself included, it is possible to upgrade from 5 to 6. So first, refresh your cache and install the upgrade tool by typing the following commands in a terminal. Apt update, apt install mint upgrade, because it is a separate application. And then type the following command to launch that upgrade tool, sudo mint upgrade, and this is what it looks like. And there you go. And then follow the instructions on the screen. When the tool is done, you have to uninstall it and reboot your computer. So you would do a remove mint upgrade through this and sudo reboot. Now, what I've noticed, when you get the instructions that just say apt and then more, a command and then what it is, or things of that sort, in my experience, I can't simply just do apt remove. I always have to go into sudo. So I always have to go sudo apt remove mint upgrade or sudo, where these ones up here, sudo apt update, sudo apt install mint upgrade. I've always had to throw sudo at the front of that. It may not be for everybody, but there you go. Anyways, so this is a major upgrade and it can take several hours. They put that there because it might actually take several hours. If you've got some of the latest, greatest hardware and stuff like that, it won't be nearly that much. It might just be like, 5-10 minutes, maybe 2 minutes, perhaps. I don't know. It all depends on what you've got for hardware, from my experience. So you'll be asked to update and prepare system snapshots. Do not rush. Do not take shortcuts. And don't hesitate to seek help if you have questions or if you happen to face problems with the upgrade. So a great place to seek help would be the IRC chat room, Linux Mint Help. It's out on Spot Chat. There they go. A lot of volunteers working out there. I don't believe any official folks from the Linux Mint team are actually on Linux Mint-help. But we've got people that know what they're doing. And so they're willing to help and stuff like that. And if you're speaking with them and they happen to come across short with you or anything like that, there's reasons behind that. Just be patient. So there we go. So that is all of that. So I need to come on back over here. Let's get rid of that. You back on. Turn you off. And we shall bring back to me. So here I am. I just had to click a couple of things in OBS so that the screen would come back to normal. So I actually have LMDE 5 up and running. And I also have LMDE 6 beta up and running. So we're going to take a quick look at that. And of course, the video's wonking in and out again. Okay, it's not so bad now. All right, so my experience with Linux, well, I won't talk about Linux in particular. I mean, I used it. And I was used stuff within it, databases, different commands and kicking off jobs and things of that sort. However, excuse me, my background is in QA, and before I went into QA, I was from a department that used Windows applications. We used Windows. And so going into QA, my whole approach in QA is from the end user standpoint. And those end users are working with a GUI. So that's really important because that is the direction I take. Can I use the Linux terminal? Yeah, I can. Do I understand all of it? No. Can I kind of understand what's being said? Kind of, within reason. But we, or me, or I, it's like, so when I look at this stuff, I look at these things, these announcements and stuff like that, saying, all right, great, yeah, throw up a terminal, type this, and off you go. It's that simple. And I agree, it is that simple. I know how to do it. But from my QA standpoint, I'm from the GUI direction. So why don't we look at that? Okay, so we're out here in my testing environment for LMDE 5 because that is my production OS on Solaria, which is my Linux box. This is, of course, where I'm doing my filming on my Windows box or Odin. And so and I've said it before, but there's just something innocently, it's like innocently chaotic when I'm running Linux inside of Windows. It's just, I just think like I'm like an innocent, chaotic little hamster. Hamster dance, look it up. So we're in my my testing environment for LMDE 5. So of course here's the welcome. Of course we don't need that. So here's the green background. So as I was saying, my approach on QA is from the user standpoint, and those users were driven from the GUI. Now let me show you. In order to update this today, we have to use the terminal. So we have to come out the terminal and we fire stuff off in here. So, but I'm not looking at that. I'm looking down here at the updater. So that's this right here. And if I click on that, here we go. So, and we can go ahead and we're going to refresh it. Why not? I've already ran all the updates earlier before I started filming. So it'll come back as your system's up to date. La 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 la. Of course, I'm going through a VPN, so it's a hair slower, but not too bad. Okay, so from the Update Manager GUI, typically what we would have to do is, well, we come up to Edit, and it would show up right down at the bottom here. Update to blah, right there. It's not listed, so therefore, from a GUI user standpoint, it hasn't been released. Okay, and looking at this edit dropdown, we don't see anything regarding updating to the next version of LMDE. You can go to View, nothing there. You go to File, nothing there. It's because it shows up under Edit. Don't go to Help, because it won't show anything there. This is the Help dropdown. But it would show up under Edit, and it would be the bottom one. It would be a fourth line right here. So that is, from a GUI standpoint, it's currently not available. All right, and so now I've shot over and I have launched up LMDE 6 beta. This is where I showed my last video for Text Quest about the LMDE 6 beta. This is the beta right here. And so if I go into Firefox here, I'm going to fire that up and I'm going to look up Linux Mint blog because I want that up. And of course, it's Google, but whatever. All right, so here we are. LMDE 6 Fay released. If we come down. All right, so if you're using LMDE 6 beta, you don't need to upgrade. Just run the following commands, and I showed that before. Apt to install this compression utility and this YouTube downloader or video downloader, and remove GNOME font viewer. I have no idea why it would want to remove the GNOME font viewer, but it wants to, and it wants to remove YouTube DL. All right, so why don't we go ahead and we are going to turn this over into LMDE 6 production. So I am going to take this, I'm going to copy this, fire up a terminal, paste it, and oh, what do you know? Sudo is locked in LMDE 6, just so you know. Let's see, what did I have for it on this? Yep, that's what it is. Okay. So ZSTD is already the newest version, so on and so forth. YouTube DLP is already the newest version. So that's interesting. I downloaded the beta and it's already there. That's interesting. Okay, let's try removing this. Zero upgraded, zero newly installed, 1 to remove, and 0 not upgraded. Interesting. Package. GNOME font viewer is not installed, so not removed. Interesting. This is the beta. YouTube DL is out there, so that'll go ahead. So why don't we go ahead and remove that? You can hit Y and enter. Me typically, if I was just to hit enter, you see this capital Y right here? Because I can't highlight that. There it is, the YN. The Y is capitalized, which means whichever option is capitalized, if you were to hit enter, that is what automatically gets selected. So me, typically, I just hit enter. But, yes, go ahead. So it's going to read it. It removed it. And so it's gone. So based on what I'm seeing here, I now have the production release of LMDE 6 Fay. So that's really interesting. Yeah. So it wanted to install the compression utility and this. And based on what I saw, they're already out there. It was already installed. I don't have to do it. And this is the beta. And then apt to remove GNOME font viewer and YouTube DL. GNOME font viewer was gone already. And this is the beta. And YouTube DL did happen to be there, so I removed it. So effectively, I have the beta version, not the beta version, I have the production version of it now. And there we go. I did it. So that's really interesting. I had the beta version installed, and I did those update things there, and things were already there, and one thing needed to be removed, and one thing wasn't there to begin with, and that's in the beta. Why, I can't describe it in either sense. Hey, I've got my beta version is no longer a beta version, is the production version. And I didn't have to do any major beta changes to it. My LMDE 5 testing environment, however, does need to go through an update. And of course, I don't have anything in that testing environment that needs to be backed up or anything like that. I can just kick it off and off it goes. Am I going to update Celeria? Yes. Am I going to do it right now? No. Here's why. It's because it wants you to run system snapshots or backups. That is not my approach for it. My approach is I'm going to take an image of the drive. That's my backup. And an image is a .img. That's the file extension, and I use DD for that. And I have my archival drives inside of Celeria, and and those backups or archivings, taking an image, those run for a better part of a day. I would kick it off when I would be getting ready to go to bed at night, and it would be done the following morning. Or if it wasn't done when I got up, it would be shortly thereafter, because it takes hours. I've got a 1 terabyte drive, and that's pretty much the end of that. The drive is an NVMe stick. It's about yay rectangular, and it's directly on the motherboard. From a hardware standpoint, that is the way you want to go. Could use a SATA drive, connection, stuff like that. That's perfectly fine. But I'm using a SATA connection for my archival drives, and also for my Windows drive. The original Windows install was happened to be, fortunately, on a SATA SSD. So that's where I left it. And if I want to use it, hey, I've got the bootloader, which is the Linux Mint bootloader, which is perfectly fine. It happens to pick it up and ask me if I want to boot to that, or if I want to boot to, to LMDE. I typically boot to LMDE. However, I can boot to Windows should I wish. That has actually been upgraded to Windows 11 for testing purposes, which I've done all of that and everything like that. So that's really only for hardware maintenance. Firmware for the graphics card, which is a Zotac GTX 1660 Ti. So, and I could do motherboard stuff with it too. Motherboard updates, BIOS updates, things of that sort. So that's why I keep Windows 11. It's strictly for hardware maintenance. That's basically it. So that's Linux Mint Debian Edition 6. Just a brief look at it. And of course, this video is going way too long. So I'm going to end it right there. So thank you very much. Skál.